Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and we are delighted to have with us today Jim Mahoon, who's Vice President of Content Development and Integration for Focus on the Family. And we want to talk to him about a new documentary coming up, Irreplaceable. And Jim, nice to see you. And first of all, thank you for our relationship with Focus on the Family goes back over 30 years. And so we're delighted in all the things you guys do.
Well, thanks, Perry. It's our privilege to do it. We live for this.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Well, listen, tell us about Irreplaceable. You know, in fact, I was back at Focus a little while ago, and this was kind of working on. A lot of people were really buzzing about this documentary. What made you lead up to this?
Yeah, well, it's a big deal for us to do a theatrical release of a feature-length film, and a pretty exciting opportunity for us. You know, here's the underlying premise of this. We know that stable families are the fundamental building block of civilization. And our fear is that we're living in a culture today where many people have lost sight of what that even means, and in particular that it doesn't just happen to be the fundamental building block of society, but it's actually that way because God designed it to be that way. Mm-hmm. So we want to engage our culture in a conversation about family, what family means, whether we as people, is it a social construct or is this something that God has given to us as part of his grand plan and tapestry for humankind? And so when we understand our roles in family and what God intends, we think we do better by living within that design. And we think it's we can know the design and we can live within it. And a lot of people have despaired of that or simply don't believe it.
Well, thank you for investing into this. Now, we do have a trailer. We'll show that in just a moment. But before we do, this is going to be released next Tuesday. Is that right? And how do people view this?
Yeah, so May 6th, 727 theaters around the United States will be showing it, and then a couple hundred in Canada the very next evening. And it's at 7:30 in all time zones. The thing to do is go to irreplacablethemovie.com and click on the Buy Tickets button, and then you can punch in your zip code, and it'll show you what theaters are showing it in the local market. But it is a one-night event on May 6th, and we hope we get a couple 100,000 people out that night to stand up for family. I'll tell you, they'll be blessed by the content in the film and challenged, and they'll go home talking about this, and we'll be talking about it for some time to come. I can promise you that.
All right, Jim, bear with us. We're going to show here. I think we got about a little trailer, about a minute and a half trailer. So let's play that real quick.
As I contemplate the world around me, I'm perplexed. I've always believed in traditional family. Man and woman marry. They have and raise children. They remain committed for a lifetime. But every day in the media, the life choices of my neighbours, even in public policy, I seem to be told that I've got it wrong.
The biggest change that's taken place in education over the last generation actually has nothing to do with schools, but everything to do with what's happened to the family in the last generation. Dad is just not there on a regular basis. Out-of-wedlock childbirths have gone through the roof. We're at about 40% right now of all births are out of wedlock.
24 million children in America have no biological fathers in their home.
Was divorcing after many years of marriage.
Is it time, Danielle, to acknowledge the end of traditional marriage and embrace some new ideas about romance and family?
So I have to ask the question, does culture have it right? Or is there something better?
But when you finally get past that and you say, no matter what, I'm committed to you, I want to give more, I want to serve more, then that sets a tone that betters the world.
Is there a way to do family that really works? What can we learn from history, ancient tradition, modern psychology, from religion, from other cultures? Might that solution provide a pathway to healing broken hearts, reducing poverty, combating violence and injustice? What if that solution also points to the ultimate question of our need to belong, to be loved, to be part of something enormous and greater than ourselves? Join me on a journey of discovery as we literally search the world for answers.
Well, there you go. Irreplaceable. We have with us today Jim Mahoon from Focus on the Family talking about it, and it's going to be released next Tuesday in over 700 theaters across the country. Jim, congratulations. It just looks well done.
Yeah, thank you. We're very pleased with how the film turned out, and of course we worked really hard on it and put our A-team on it the whole time. But the beautiful thing with this process is we watched how God blessed it and intervened even in the process of this excellent team, frankly, we can see how God's hand was on it and how he revealed his plan through this film. It's been a fun process.
You know, Jim, the family's been under attack for a long time, and we know all the statistics. You know the drill. Focus on the Family has spent decades trying to strengthen the family. Do you see a hope in the younger generation? Do you see a return to the traditional family?
Oh, yeah. Hey, look, this idea that generations have lost track of God's plan for them isn't exactly new. In fact, you can go all the way back to the story in the Garden of Eden, the whole account of Adam and Eve, and what did they do? They sought their own path. And in fact, Judges chapter 2 tells us that when Joshua and his generation passed away, a new generation came up that did not know the laws of God and forgotten what God had done for Israel. And yet, we know that God's plan has survived all the generations, and we have it now. So really, it comes down to the responsibility of every generation taking on the challenge to reintroduce God's design and God's plan to the current generation. So redemption is available to us. And yes, we think people will catch the vision for family once they understand that there's something really big happening here that's much bigger than just myself and my needs, but that we're in this grand tapestry of God's story. Absolutely, there's redemption, and they'll get it.
Where does church come into this? I mean, we know God has a plan, but also church activity or church membership, if I can put it that way, church association is a big part of the family life.
Yes, being part of a community of people who share your faith, and frankly, we know that one of the 40 developmental assets that are a great predictor of success of children is whether they have other adults involved in their lives who affirm the values of their parents. Sometimes we need other people around us who help tell our kids stuff that we've told them a million times, but they don't listen to us. They listen to somebody else. We know that. And it's especially important when we get into single-parent homes, for example. So I grew up in a single-parent home. My dad was killed when I was very young. And it was men in the local church, my grandfather primarily, but also men in the local church who took time out to relate to me. And it's not like they were sitting down and giving me instruction. They were just being my friend, they were being my peer, they were taking me fishing, and they were setting an example for me to live up to. And that is very, very important. And the church is one of the primary places that comes into play.
Well, Jim, again, to you and your team there, congratulations and thank you. Thank you for the investment you've made into this. And it's going to be next Tuesday, May 6th. You can go to irreplacablethemovie.com. Plug in the zip code, find out where it's being aired in your area, buy some tickets, take some friends. Who do you want to see? Who do you want to go see this?
Well, I think there's something in there for lots of different people. You know, the couple that has been involved in family advocacy for years will learn things from this film. It'll give them a tool to become even better advocates. But I also think about that dad that maybe has been through a divorce and now he's living separately from his ex-wife and his kids. I want him to come out to see it because I want him to understand that he's not disqualified and that his children want and need a relationship with him. And so this film is going to help him understand just how important he is to that equation and give him some hope for the redemptive process that can happen. And whether this marriage can be saved or not, the point is there's something that they can do that will help benefit their kids, and that's important. And then young people, I hope young folks come out and take a look at this and take it with an open heart and open mind and think about the value of marriage and family and the decisions they're making today. They're gonna pave the pathway for where they're at 10 years, 20 years from now. It's important to catch the vision and to live our lives accordingly in order to maximize the opportunity to have a successful family and live in God's plan in that family.
Wonderful. Jim, thank you. Blessings to you and again the team and all the other Jims on staff there.
Yeah, there's a lot of us here. So, yeah. You don't have to be named Jim, but it doesn't hurt.
Mention Jim and 14 of you come running. All right. Hey, thanks. God bless you, pal. Talk to you soon.
You too. God bless you.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
welcome back. As you know, Oregon's primary is May 20th coming up. Oregon is vote by mail, and today is the last day to register to vote. Now, if you haven't registered to vote, I'm going to come to your house and make you register to vote. If you change your name or you change your address, you got to re-register, and today's the last day to do that if you are going to vote in the upcoming primary. Well, we have a race going on the Republican nomination side for the U.S. Senate. We have 5 candidates now running for that nomination to run up against Jeff Merkley. And one of the candidates is Jo Rae Perkins. I had the opportunity to host the forum that we had here several weeks ago in Medford, and it was great to meet Jo Rae for the first time. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Perry. How are you?
Fine. Nice to have you with us. Give us a little bit of a background on why you're doing this.
Well, Perry, this is a calling that was placed on my heart to do. I feel very strongly that this is what the purpose of my life right now. So when I travel around the state and I see what I'm seeing, and I see how far we've gotten away from our Constitution and the real freedom that this country was founded on, it breaks my heart. It really does. So my goal is, when I'm back in Washington, D.C., is to help get us back to what the role of our federal government is according to the Constitution, and to be a voice of truth and honesty, not a voice that is a sellout.
Yeah. Your background, you're in financial planning, right?
Well, that's what I did. Because I knew that I was going to be in this election, I let all my licenses go. I had the option to go to work for a brokerage firm, to keep all of my investment licenses, or let them go, and to get somebody that was going to hire me, knowing that I was going to be leaving within a year, the likelihood was very slim. And plus I was in school full time. So I laid it all on the line. Well,
I want to commend you. Listen, anybody that runs for public office, I have great regard. And you are learning how big this state is, how vast Eastern Oregon is, how crowded Northern Oregon is, and you're beginning to sense and feel what's going on. I think a lot of people, Jo Rae, really feel your concern and your passion that something has happened to our dear country that we can't allow to go any further. Where are you on some of the key issues? Let's start with... as you know, we are just spending more than we're taking in. As an economist yourself, where do you think we ought to go with all of this debt and everything else that's going on?
Well, I don't want to be Debbie Downer. The country is mathematically bankrupt. We clearly have way too much debt. We need to, number one, get back to what the role of the federal government is according to the Constitution. There's 18 specific items listed, areas listed. We've got to stop. The government's got to stop spending. The people have got to stop expecting the government's going to be there to pay for everything. So examples, the federal government gives out money, $1 million to study romance novels. Well, in their attitude, they go, well, it's only $1 million. And in my attitude, that's more debt on my grandchildren and my great-great-grandchildren.
Right.
So get back to what the job of the federal government is, which is to manage the affairs of the country, protect our borders, enter into agreements with foreign nations that are not selling us out for what our freedoms and our liberties are that are listed in our Constitution.
Let me ask you a couple of hot points here. Obamacare, do you want to repeal it?
I want to repeal Obamacare and return it back to the private sector, not replace. It is not the job of the federal government to provide health insurance for everybody. So should the insurance industry come up with better plans? Of course they should. But we also need to have this be a market-driven sector of the economy. If you have a plan that covers absolutely everything, you're going to go to the doctor for everything that you could take care of at home. And what ends up happening is you flood the system and costs increase. It's just the simple basics economics of supply and demand. So when we get...
Yeah.
Good.
Let me scoot along here. yesterday, or actually a couple of days ago, but it was come to light yesterday, Secretary of State John Kerry said that Israel is borderline becoming an apartheid state. Now, it's an incredible statement, and we see now Senator Ted Cruz calling for his resignation for such a statement. What is your belief that the United States' role should be in its relationship to Israel?
Israel is Israel's our one true, I'm sorry, I'm starting to tear up here. Israel's our one true ally in the Middle East. And the people that are citizens have all the full rights of citizenship in Israel. And to call Israel an apartheid state, I think of what the scripture says, where it says that Israel will become a millstone around the neck of the world, of all the nations of the world. And to see that actually coming out of the mouths of our political leaders, and I would agree that Kerry needs to resign. He won't, but he's wrong.
Yeah, I share your feelings. Immigration, hot topic. What's your 2-second take on immigration?
Man, okay. First, I'm going to give the hard truth, because that's how I am. I give the hard facts of what's really going on out there. In a nutshell, when Clinton signed the NAFTA agreement, it opened up the doors for the North American Union. The ultimate goal of the globalist society is that Canada, the United States, and Mexico, and then beyond Mexico down into South America, and then eventually, Central and South America, is that we have totally open borders, just like they do in Europe. So when they say, we need to protect the borders, the government has no intention of doing that as long as we keep the same people in place that are there. As far as immigration reform goes, we have got, I do not believe in amnesty. People, if they're not here legally, they need to return to their home country and then reapply to come back in this country. My idea, and it's on my website, perkinsforussenate.com. If people go to the Q&A page and click on immigration, they'll see the whole write-up on what one of my ideas is. And basically, it's if INS picks you up, you are going to be returned back to your country. You want to come back, you've got to get back in line. You can never get citizenship in this country. You can be a permanent resident. For those people that go, okay, I want to become a citizen, freely go back without the INS picking you up, get back in line, and then you can apply to come back in and then eventually gain citizenship. Okay.
Before I run out of time, let me ask you on a couple of the social issues that are hot button. Where are you on the abortion issue?
I am 100% pro-life. In fact, Perry, I am the only candidate who has stated that as soon as I am in Washington, D.C., I will begin writing a bill to overturn the U.S. Supreme Court decision 1973 of Doe versus Bolton. Doe v. Bolton is what legalized late/full-term abortions. Washington, D.C., along with 9 other states, of which Oregon is one of them, allows for this heinous crime. And in Oregon, you can have an abortion up until the moment you give birth to that baby.
Right. Yeah, there's no restrictions in the state of Oregon. Well, traditional marriage is under attack today. We're seeing it all level. Where are you with that?
Marriage is between a man and a woman. God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Just look at the biologically, the way that God designed us. It was for a man and a woman to come together as one and to create new life. So, I mean, people that do not believe as I believe are not going to see how I see. My heart breaks for people that are caught up for whatever variety of reasons in a homosexual lifestyle. But this marriage is a religious institution ordained by God, not by the government. I had a conversation with my pastor, and he said, look, if a gay couple wants to get married, because I really don't care, that's their business, and he's right. He said the concern is, and I will agree with my pastor on this, is that we don't want to have somebody coming to our fellowship and demanding that our pastor or one of our pastors marry a same-sex couple. And if not, sue them like they did Melissa Sweetcakes up in the Portland market. And we see that coming down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay, let me just say to our viewers and listeners, if you want to correspond with Jo Rae, first of all, her website is where?
Perkins, F-O-R, USSenate.com.
Okay. Perkins, number 4, US.
No, not number 4.
Oh, that's Twitter. I'm sorry. I got it mixed up. Okay. Perkins4USSenate.com. All right. Now, Jo Rae, I'm going to give you about a minute or so here. Just tell us your passion for what you want to do as a senator.
What I want to do as a senator is get back to what the role of the federal government is, and to back the federal government out of our lives. This country is a country where I've talked to immigrants who came here to escape socialism, communism, and tyranny. They came to a country where they could have true freedom and to have success in the manner that they felt best suited their lives within the boundaries of the law. And that's what we need to get back to. We need to shrink the size of our federal government and let people be free. Let them be free to pursue their dreams. Let them be free to worship God in any way that they want, to get back to our freedom of speech. And the only way we're going to do that is to get constitutional conservatives in Washington, D.C. who are solid believers.
Well, thank you, Jo Rae. Blessings to you, and thanks for being in the race, and thanks for sacrificing it all to get out there, and best to you. And as we know, today is the last day to register, so hopefully folks get registered to vote, and we have a good turnout this primary season.
Absolutely. Thank you, Perry. Have a blessed day.
You too. All right. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and we're going to talk about a topic now that is very concerning to all of us, especially here in Southern Oregon. We never thought there would be this problem here, but it does exist. I'm delighted to have in the studio with us today Joyce Marks, part of the Rogue Valley Children's Ministry Network. Prior to that, she was a police officer for about 15 years and was a detective in sexual abuse of children and sex crimes in San Diego, California. She's currently a director of ministries and volunteers at the Shepherd of the Valley, where she is in charge of training and coordinating child safety and abuse prevention programs in her church. And she's here to help us understand about a very important conference coming up on Saturday, not this Saturday, but a week from this Saturday, May 10th, and it'll be held over at Cascade Christian High School. Joyce, nice to have you with us.
Hi, thanks.
Boy,
thanks for
what an
having
incredible
us.
topic. I don't think we realize where this is and how big it is, but it's quite concerning. And give us your thoughts on it here in Jackson County.
Well, nationwide, there's about 100,000 victims every year, teens, children, that are brought into this sex trafficking within our own nation. And it touches Oregon in that even in Portland, it's the hidden crime that nobody knows about. And that trickles down into our own area, because often we think we're protected because we're not in the big cities, but it's precisely where young teens are targeted because they don't know about what's going on. And so Portland had a sting last year where they had about 70 who were arrested and rescued who were victims of the sex trafficking, and the average age was 14, but there was as young as 8. So it's real.
What happens? What is it? I mean, how are they coerced into this?
Well, they're targeted based on certain things tend to be put them at higher risk. Those kids who come from broken homes, those kids who have parents who are neglectful in that they're so busy that really they're just not watching out what's going on in their children's lives, or they're just not talking to their kids. Abuse in the home, physical, sexual abuse. Those children who are involved in the court system or foster care system have a higher target rate, as well as just the at-risk kids who themselves are delinquent, involved in drugs themselves, runaways.
How are they targeted?
Typically what happens is it's young females, and they're more at risk the younger they are, obviously. They're more vulnerable the younger they are. They're naive. And it's older males who start developing a relationship with them. And when I say older males, I'm not talking about high school kids. I'm talking about 20-somethings. Typically 24 is the age, 22 to 24. You hear a lot of that because they're old enough, but not too old. And then it just they begin this relationship with the young girl about how beautiful she is and finding things out about her life. And pretty soon this young girl falls in love with them. So in the young girl's eyes, he adores her, he loves her, he wants a better life for her, he can't wait to start a life with her, and they fall in love with them. And in that trust, there's a pulling away from the family and then getting them out of the city, where after that.
There's an abduction. Wow. All right, tell us what's going to happen on May 10th.
On May 10th, we have our Children's Ministers Conference, and it's for Southern Oregon, Rogue Valley. And what we do there is we have lots of different workshops. We have 15 workshops, and we have 5 different tracks. So whether you're a children's minister who works with elementary, there's a track for you. Whether you're a preschool nursery worker, there's a track for you. Whether you're an administrator, there's a track for you. Special ministries, you're interested in substance abuse, there's a track for you. As well as teen track, and that's where this class fits in. It's a curriculum from Shared Hope International. And their whole purpose is to get the word out, to increase awareness on this issue. And they've provided for any church, and in fact that's how we came across it, is the Catholic Church at the archdiocesan level has all of our churches involved in their program. And it's not a Christian program, it's just an educational awareness program that any organization or church can tap into. And it's really user-friendly. So I'm bringing it in because, one, our churches all use it. We're trying to get our teens educated, our parents educated about this. And it's in doing that this organization that is putting on the conference that I'm part of, it's a multi-denominational, Christian denominational program. They saw this and said, Joyce, we've got to get the word out. You've got to do this at the conference. So this is just one of many wonderful workshops. And it's a networking, and it's a support for anybody in ministry in the church, because we just don't have enough training for all of our people, especially from small churches.
Well, I just want to say to our viewers and listeners, this is a real resource, and if you work with young people in your church, you need to attend this. Is there a pre-registration? What should they do?
There is. They can go online. They can go to Rogue Valley Children's Ministry Network, which is rvcmn.org, or they can also go to roguevalleykids.org, and they can just register right online. And if they register before tomorrow, then it's $40 per participant.
I just think if you're a leader in your church with young people, you need to attend. This is one of those resources, and thank you for making this available. But I don't think we know how serious this problem is. We've had other organizations in here and other groups that are working behind the scenes to provide homes and places and to help girls get out of this.
Absolutely.
And we want to do everything we can to lend support towards that. What can you say to a parent who's beginning to sense their child is living a double life, and what they should do about that?
You know, I would access any internet device that they have. There's a lot of social media. My son, after listening to this video just this morning as we were waking up, said, Mom, I know a 14-year-old girl who's talking to a 20-year-old boy on the internet. That just came out of this morning in my home. I wasn't even trying to get that information. So if that is happening, so in Eagle Point Middle School, okay, so know what your child is doing online, know who they're hanging out with, know what their activities are, be involved in their children's life. And if you suspect it and you have any proof of it whatsoever, contact the local police department. There are also a lot of internet sites where you can actually, they're hotlines. There's SARC, Sexual Assault Resource Center, that has not only reporting, but resources, advocacy, what to do next. That's just one of many. Missing and Exploited Children's Center, that's a national program online. There's a lot of things that they can do, but first contact your local law enforcement agency and get them on board.
Wow. Sometimes I'm speechless on what to say because some things are so obvious, and this is one of those things where you just need to know. You can't put your head in the sand on this one. And I would say to pastors, your youth director, pastor, whoever needs to attend this. If you have nursery workers, they need to attend this. Anybody that works with children ought to attend this. And it's coming up. It'll be a week from Saturday, May 10th. It's going to be held at Cascade Christian High School. But you can go, give me those websites again, Joyce.
It's going to be Rogue Valley Children's Ministry Network.org, rvcmn.org, or roguevalleykids.org.
roguevalleykids.org. Go there, get registered, and go invest into this. Thanks for what you do. This is an incredible. Now you're 15 years as a police officer, detective in this area. You've seen it all.
Yeah, a lot. A lot, yeah, because I was a detective, and my passion was that advocacy for the children and women of sex crimes.
And isn't it wonderful that the faith community takes the lead in this?
They do, and I'm not kidding, because we really, as Christians, we're really trying to advocate for the weak, the marginalized, the vulnerable, and that's these kids, and they don't even know they're being victims. They think these people love them, and so you're dealing with a whole different set of challenges, and they're going to fight you on it. Those young girls are going to fight you on it. So it's just knowing and understanding it, and then it's like that. Our church is receiving this information and putting it into our community and being the eyes and ears for, like, my son. My son is 12.
And he saw it today.
Just from a video. I wasn't up there in front of a class lecturing. Any parent can get this online. SharedHope.org has this easy program. They can do it in their own church. They can bring it in their own families, in their own organizations that are perhaps in the community.
Well, thanks for what you do.
Thank you for having us.
And thanks for putting this on. And again, I can't say enough, if you're involved with children at any level, and pastors, get your children's leaders to this conference coming up a week from Saturday, May 10th. They'll be over at Cascade Christian High School, and you can go to roguevalleykids.com.
Yes.
roguevalleykids.com, and you get registered today.
.org.
.org, excuse me.
Yeah.
Go there today, and then if you do it today, you'll save a few bucks, so do that. Thanks, Joyce.
Thank you so much.
Keep up the good work, okay?
Great.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Hi, we're back. One of the big controversial topics on the ballot this year is ballot item 15-119, and it deals with GMOs. Delighted to have in the studio with us. It's been a long time since we've had Lynn in, but Lynn Barton's with us today. She is a caretaker of a small hobby farm. She's also a tutor of classical conversations, homeschooling mom. In fact, you say your son's graduating this year?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Her and her hubby, Brad, have a small farm, and they farm hay and orchard, a small orchard, vegetable garden, chickens, raise a few steers for their own beef production. So this, I know you're very passionate about this. What is a GMO?
Okay. A genetically modified organism is a plant. Well, this is not all of genetic engineering. Just talk about GMO plants.
Okay.
So it's created by taking the DNA from another plant or an animal or possibly a virus or bacteria. It's done in the lab. It's inserted into the plant that they're engineering to attain a specific trait that they want to get. And so it's fundamentally different from plant breeding because you're mixing different kinds of species. And it would never happen in nature. You're not always mixing different species, but you're mixing you're overcoming the natural processes of plant breeding and doing it in the lab to create this plant that has the traits you want. For instance, one of the most popular ones is corn or soybeans. They are Roundup resistant, so you can spray your whole entire field with Roundup and it will only kill the weeds, but your soybeans and your corn will stand and continue to grow.
All right. Now, you are defending yes on 15.119. And clarify this, because sometimes a yes means a no and a no means a yes. And so tell us your position and what it is.
Well, the measure is says that after a year, you will no longer be allowed to grow genetically modified crops in Jackson County.
After a year.
Yeah, so there's a year to make that change over that transition.
The danger of a GMO to those who are organic is what?
Well, it's not just to our organic growers, but also to conventional growers.
Okay.
But the problem is, well, there's a number of problems, but the main problem we're dealing with is pollen drift. So you can't keep your pollen on your property. And so the way this all got started was Chris Hardy, who's an organic farmer in Ashland, was wanting to lease some more land, and he found out that this plot of land was already being leased by Syngenta. And now Syngenta is a genetically modified grower out of Switzerland, and by the way, they're not even allowed to grow in their own country. Yeah. But anyway, they were growing sugar beets, GMO sugar beets, within a mile of his property, and so he had to plow under his crop because he could no longer guarantee that his crop would be organic. Wow. And so anyone who is growing any crop that could pollinate, could interpollinate, because it's the same type of plant, if they don't want a GMO plant, they can't be assured of protecting themselves because pollen travels on the wind and with the bees and the birds.
Now, it's also true, I've heard, that some of the GMOs that are grown aren't accepted in other countries. They're rejecting them. That's
true. And of course, the other thing that's happening is that, for instance, last year we found wheat, GMO wheat, in an Oregon farm that wasn't supposed to be there. And there isn't even any approved GMO wheat to sell. And that condemned the whole load, didn't it? And so all the wheat farmers, including Jared Waters here in the Rogue Valley, they lost their entire wheat crop because Japan and Korea would no longer take any wheat from Oregon. And they kept that ban for several months. So that cost them a lot of money.
All right, so basically, are we, let's go on the spiritual side of this just for a moment. Are we fooling around with God's creation? Is that what we're doing here?
Well, I think so. So when I look at the Bible, and I was thinking, how do you think about this from a biblical perspective?
I mean, we're cloning cows and dogs, and we're trying to do humans, and we're basically doing this with plants now, right?
Yes, and we always adopt new technology just because we can, and we never ask, should we, or how should we do it? Mm-hmm. And science is totally unequipped to answer those types of philosophical questions. And so when I look at Scripture, and I read in Genesis 1 that God created, the animals and the plants and the creeping things, He always said He created them after their own kinds. Right. And He said that several times, and then He also said it was good. Yeah. And then we know in Leviticus 19 that you're not supposed to mate. God says don't mate species of different animals. Mm-hmm. And we know if we even try that with a horse and a donkey, we only get one generation because the offspring is infertile. Mm. But now that limitation has been overcome. And that's another big risk of the GMOs, because it changes the DNA of that plant, and then it spreads into the environment, and you can't take it back.
All right. Some of the argument of the other side is, well, we can't, this is going to cut into budgeting, management, you're going to have policemen become farm cops. I mean, I've heard the drill, and I don't know, is that true?
No, it's not true at all.
Okay.
So the way this ordinance was written is it's based almost word for word on the PAIR ordinance that we already have that's been working really well for a long time, which says, if you're not going to maintain your pear orchard, you need to pull up the trees so they don't become a pest magnet. Right. And in fact, this new ordinance adds extra protection because you can't go on someone's property without a warrant under the new ordinance. That's not the case with the old ordinance. Okay. So it's not going to be an issue of, people having government inspectors, invading their property. And the other issue is it's already been passed, bans have been passed in California in 3 counties. 2 of them had GMOs in them already, so 1 they weren't there yet. Yeah. But there hasn't been any cost. And the reason is, I think a big reason is you have to sign a contract to be able to grow GMOs. And what company is going to offer for sale in a county a product that's been made illegal? Very unlikely.
And I have to ask the question, what is the marketability of a GMO if countries are turning it down? Where's this going? I mean, it sounds like the outside is eventually going to have a control on this.
Yeah, and of course the argument is we're a bunch of anti-science Luddites and, you know, we're environmental extremists and we're trying to, you know, keep farmers from growing what they want to grow. But it's true, the more people learn about it, the less they want them. And so they are going to have problems with selling GMOs over time.
Have we ever done the science on the purity of a GMO? I mean, I'm going to skip ahead. There seems to be cancer's epidemic, and we know a lot of it has to do with stress. But what about our general food supply? Are we messing around here?
Well, I think we are, but of course we don't know.
Yeah.
The GMOs were approved by the FDA as generally recognized as safe, GRAS. Of course, the head of the FDA at that time was Michael Taylor, who was a former Monsanto lawyer. Monsanto is one of the biggest GMO researchers and producers. Yeah. But all the studies are short-term. So we can assume that, you know, we know nobody's dropping dead from GMOs, obviously. Yeah, right, but long-term, we don't know what the long-term consequences are. And meanwhile, they're taking over our food supply in a big way. At least in corn, you basically, if you don't buy organic corn, it's 90% genetically modified. So if you drink a Coke or tortilla chips or anything like that, you're eating genetically modified food. And we just don't know.
All right, the other argument I'm hearing is, well, if I want to use Roundup, I should be able to use Roundup.
Well, you should.
Does that play into this at all?
Well, one of the models of the Roundup Ready corn and soybeans, it actually allows you to use more Roundup. And now what we're having problems with is super weeds, because the weeds are becoming resistant to the Roundup, so you have to use more and more. And now they're having to rotate to different chemicals. And you know, I don't even want to get into the issues of water and things like that over time, but the super weeds also are not going to stay on the farms. They're going to end up in our gardens, and our, you know, and they don't stay where they
So the
first started.
pesticide is just one of the things they threw into the argument that really isn't a factor. All right, so I'm hearing now that farmers, true farmers, are waking up and saying, wait a minute, why should I even go down this road if down the road I can't sell it? So
well, I hope that's the case. It's becoming very contentious, and I'm really sad about that.
Yeah. It really has divided the county in many ways.
It really has.
Yeah.
And my neighbor across the street really disagrees with me, and that's unfortunate. But over time, if you read the news reports coming out of the Midwest, more and more farmers are getting out of it because they're having more problems than they're gaining benefits from, and their yields are going down over time. So it starts out to be a real boon, but over time you end up with unintended consequences and problems. And again, like you said, it's getting harder and harder to sell some of these crops because people just don't want them.
All right, before I run out of time, I just want to go back to a statement you made earlier, because I did not know that as part of the argument. Basically, the framework of the yes on 15-19 is already in play as it relates to the orchardists in the valley.
Yep, and it's been working really well.
Go back through that again so we understand that, because I mean, here we are, the pear capital of the world, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, as you know, if you stop maintaining your pear orchard, it could be a real problem for pests that will cause problems with other orchardists if you don't spray and maintain your orchard. So the ordinance says if you're going to stop growing, you have to pull those trees out. And we see torn up pear orchards all over the valley. It hasn't been an issue. People comply. So this ordinance, they hired an attorney to fashion the ordinance for the GMO ban to be just like the pear orchard ban, with the additional protection that you can't go on someone's property without a warrant. Now, that hasn't been a problem. Nobody's been doing that with the pear ordinance either, but just to give that extra protection.
And back to the argument of cost, other counties or states that have gotten, other counties within other states have gotten into this and have done the ban. Has there been a cost?
Well, they've called around and they're told no, very little to negligible. Sometimes they have to answer some questions, but it has not been an issue.
Okay. All right. So again, Lynn represents yes on 15-119. So yes basically means no to GMOs, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand that? Because it gets a little confusing. The yes on 15-119 means the ban on GMOs, and a no means there would be no ban. The other thing I've heard is, what's been very interesting to me, is that most of the funds behind the yes on 15-119 has been local, and most of the funds on no have been out of state. Is that true?
The Good Neighbor PAC, I forget the exact percentage, but almost all the money has come from out of state and from some of these corporations. Also the Farm Bureau, that is a no on this measure. 28% of their funding comes from GMO companies. So they're not exactly objective in their views. So yeah, that money's coming from out of state to try and influence what we do in our little county. And it really is an attempt at survival. You know, the organic farmers that discovered this problem, they went to the county, they went to the state agriculture department, and they went to the USDA, and nobody would help them.
Really?
And so that's why they put together this measure, because otherwise we're going to lose our whole organic farming community over time, because they're not going to be able to ensure that their crops are organic.
Can they possibly coexist?
Probably not in our valley. They've tried it. There were some meetings where they tried to pin the valley and kind of divide it up into places where GMOs would be grown and other places where they wouldn't. And the meetings ended up breaking up. And depending who you talk to, it was the other guy's fault. And I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened, but I know it failed. I also know another thing that you can do is stagger plantings. So the GMO people would plant at a different time than the organic people do, and they pollinate at a different time, and you don't have that problem. Well, that hasn't worked either. Fry Family Farms had an agreement with a local Syngenta grower to stagger the plantings, but the corporate office in Switzerland got wind of it and said, no, you plant now. You're not going to follow that agreement. And so again, the local farmer got the short end of the stick, and the staggered planting agreement didn't work.
Where do you think this is going overall? I mean, in time, it appears the argument's on your side.
Well, I'm really encouraged about the reaction in our valley and its pockets throughout the country, and and even in Hawaii it's becoming very controversial. The problem is that our governments have decided that GMOs are the way to go. And so I don't really know how it's all going to play out. But if this is important to us, we need to stand up and say, no, this isn't what we want. And hopefully over time, the market forces will take care of it.
Again, I think the market forces, if you can't sell the product, so am I hearing you say that the GMOs that are being grown and sent to market are primarily for our own consumption? Other countries are saying no to it?
Yeah, I know a lot of countries are saying no. I know they're used for livestock feed and things like that. I don't know all the details, but I do know that much of Europe has banned GMOs, and of course Korea, Japan, they don't want them, and I think China too. So it's trending. It's
trending. Yeah. All right, so thank you, Lynn. And she's representing the yes on measure 15-119, which is basically no to GMOs. So I hope you understand all of that, because today's the last day to register to vote, and the ballots come out in about 10 days. Thank you, Lynn. Thank
you, Perry.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.